And good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. It is Wednesday night here, July the 23rd, time for the First Alert Weather Show at 9 p.m. I'm glad you're here tonight. Of course, it's going to be hot. We really haven't done much to improve on the weather, but we'll try to make it worth your while here to get a little weather in before you head off to bed or other things here. And remember, we stream every night at 9 o'clock for your convenience, and also so you can participate. If you have questions or comments, you can put them on the 14 News Facebook page, and I'll check those about halfway through. Well, we keep adding days on to our heat wave and our First Alert weather days. Now we're up to Wednesday, and each day basically the same threat. We have excessive heat out there with the heat index possibly in that 105 to 110 degree range. So really no respite from that in the coming several days. The heat advisory will likely be strung along as well, meaning it will be continued into the weekend and next week. Note too that on the East Coast here we have some states and areas joining in on the heat advisories. That heat wave extends from the Gulf Coast all the way up to the Great Lakes. Pretty expansive area of just miserably hot conditions, especially during the heat of the day. Temperatures tomorrow and all the way through Sunday, when combined with the humidity, will feel close to 105 to 110 degrees. And our temperatures, just the straight up temperatures, are going to be very hot as well, running about 5 to 7 degrees warmer than the normal, which is 89 for this time of the year. Other than a few very isolated and short-lived storms or showers, there will be no change in the pattern here through the weekend and into the first part of next week. So kind of a carbon copy, broken record. Use all the old comparisons there. We don't use carbon paper or records anymore, but anyway, it's going to repeat often, the hot and humid conditions. Even now at 9 o'clock, we're still at 90 in St. Louis, 91 Dallas. We're at 101 in Phoenix. You'd expect those higher temperatures west. Still a couple hours to go there before sunset. And even around the Midwest today, we're just roasting out there, kind of a full steam bath out there. Current feels like temperatures even in the 90s at this hour. For the almanac, we only got up to 91 again today. You know, that's the thing. Even though it could be a lot hotter, the humidity kind of makes up for that. And so we have a string of 91s now going back 3 days. And we will probably get again around 91 to 95 during the day tomorrow. No additional rainfall. As we mentioned many times, we are set on rain. We don't really need any out there anytime soon, and we've had a long run now of wetter than normal months, starting back with April there with 8 3/4 inches of additional rainfall. Tomorrow, mid-90s during the afternoon. No surprise there. Our active weather belt is actually to the west here with high pressure essentially right here in eastern Kentucky, Tennessee. You can kind of see the flow coming around with Gulf moisture coming up, and then farther out, kind of that ring of fire formation where you have the storms on the periphery of the high pressure dome or ridge out there, but nothing even remotely close by to be concerned with. And our storm potential here pretty low going all the way through Friday, the weekend, and the first part of next week. Even the hour by hour here is pretty sleepy. It's all pretty sedate stuff to look at here tonight. Just not a lot coming our way to concern yourselves or each other with. Okay, here we go then into the longer range. Let's look at the European model. Maybe a few scattered showers on Saturday and Sunday, and then we dry out again next week. What we're looking for is a change in wind direction, and that looks like it will come on Thursday, and that would effectively break down that heat wave a little bit. If we can maintain a northerly breeze, get some precip in here and lower the humidity, that may be just what the doctor ordered. 76 degrees and partly cloudy tonight, and then right back up to the frying pan tomorrow, 95 degrees. The extended forecast loaded with alert days, and basically the same thing there over and over ad infinitum. Longer range through the first week of August, still well above normal on temperatures and below normal on rainfall. and we'll just skip right on up to our pet pick. That's probably the only reason you're watching it. You know it's going to be hot and humid. You want to see the pet pick, you want to hear the questions and comments, and you probably want to see Science Corner. That's my guess. Maybe we should just do those things. Anyway, we have a repeat here from William Raleigh. Different picture, same doggy though. That's Tesla. And this is a switch engine working on there's like a belt line or spur that goes around Evansville. And actually, this is not too far from the station. It comes to a scrapyard to pick up scrap, metal. And William is a rail fan, so he gets great pictures of trains and dogs. A dog rail fan. What would that be? A canine dog, canine rail fan, right? All right, let's see what's on your minds this evening. Lacey Martin spotted a CSX train this morning in Henderson. I'm sure you did. They come flying over that bridge about once an hour, it seems. So yes. Let's see. Jeff Miller's in there. Good evening, Jeff. Glad you're along. Debbie Marks is on this evening. Good evening. Cheyenne Hammonds. What happened to the pain predictor? Well, we still have the pain predictor. It's just the pressure hasn't been changing much. You know, we've been essentially under high pressure the whole time. I mean, I can show it to you. There's nothing to see. It's just kind of flatlined. But yeah, we'll get that thing back out when you know, when the pressure starts making you hurt again. Unless it's making you hurt now, but I haven't seen any big swings on the barometer in the last several weeks. So anyway, we have to welcome a new sponsor to the First Alert Weather Show at 9. People's Furniture Mattress Outlet is on there. You see their little logo down there. We appreciate them coming along for the ride here tonight and underwriting our pet picks. Lots of value there for everybody. So thanks to People's Furniture and Mattress Outlet for helping us out here on the big First Alert Weather Show at 9. All right, I have a short Science Corner for you tonight. You know, we've been flirting around here with the low to mid 90s pretty much. I guess this is twice this summer where we've had an extended heat wave. Highest temperature so far this year, by the way, has been 98 degrees. And you might wonder, well, why don't we just get up to 100? You know, that would kind of have a ring to it, right? It'd be hot. And but you know what? 100-degree temperatures are still, even with the climate warming and everything, still relatively rare. And it's because you need a certain set of circumstances to maximize the heat from the sun and get those 100-degree temps. And so typically, you know, I've done this a long time, you'd see a 100-degree temp maybe once a year or once every 2 years, and there'll be gaps in there. They happen, of course, but they're not common, at least not here in the tri-state. Our last 100-degree day was a year ago in August. We hit 101, but it was on the 29th, toward the end of August, which is a little unusual. Typically, they happen between now and mid-August. The year before that, in 2023, we hit 100 only once, and that was on July the 28th. And the year prior, in 2022, we actually had 2 100-degree days or greater, 101 there on July the 5th and 100 on July the 6th. Those are early 100-degree days, by the way. Normally, they happen, as I'll show you here, kind of in the middle of the summer. Now, since 1897, which is when records began at Evansville, we have had 46 years where we had at least one day where we hit 100 degrees. So you can kind of get a gauge there, not quite 50% of the months, but you know, about a third of the time, a little more, we will have a 100-degree day. The earliest we've ever hit 100 was back in 1933 on June the 7th, and the latest in 1939 on September the 14th. But the usual range there is from about the 20th of July, so about now, up into August, early week of August, would be the average or the mean of when those 100-degree days occur. There have been 173 100-degree days since 1897. And as I mentioned before, you have certain conditions that have to be met. It basically has been too humid to allow the temperature up to 100 degrees. I mean, you need a tremendous amount of energy from the sun when the air is this moist to raise the temperature. Think of how long it takes to warm up, say, a swimming pool, or how long it takes, you know, the ocean to warm up if you go swimming in the Gulf or the Atlantic or wherever, or any body of water. The Great Lakes would be another. Water tends to slow the warming process and also slow the cooling process. Once water heats up, it cools down very slowly. So basically it provides friction to getting up to that 100 degrees. Now it feels like 100 because of the humidity, but the actual temperature, which is what we're getting at here, still falls short. In the 1930s, we had the Dust Bowl. If you recall, I mean, nobody was around then probably, but if you remember your history, maybe you read The Grapes of Wrath, the story about the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression. And basically what happened was in the plains, in particular, farmers had overused soil. They had planted and planted and planted and planted the same crops over and over. They didn't quite know about crop rotation at that time. And what happened was the soil became barren or unable to produce workable crops, and then it blew away because we had a drought, an ongoing drought. And the drought itself went for several years in a row. And so when everything in the plains dried up, and the dust then blew, and it wasn't just one dust storm, but many that dispersed the topsoil. But during that time, because we just had dirt and no grass, no forest, nothing, the surface of the earth was able to heat more rapidly and the air was dry. So here we go into the hundreds. Well, we hit 100 degrees 56 times in 1930s, in that decade, and that stands alone. The other decades that were hot were the 50s, the 80s, and the 2010s. Kind of interesting to note, in the 1950s, when they were building this building in 1953, there was a string of days in the low hundreds in the middle of the summer. I can't imagine. I know this building was air conditioned, but very few were at that time. In the 1980s, we had 22 days of 100-degree heat, and in the 2010s, you might remember the heat wave of 2012, where we had 14 of those 100-degree days. 1936 still stands as the year with the most 100-degree days at 22. That was right in the peak of the Dust Bowl. In 1930, right at the beginning of that decade, 17. And 1952, pretty respectable there too, with 9 100-degree days. How about that? All right, let's see if we put everybody to sleep. Oh, brother. I got some kind of... oh, great. We got a scammer in there. We don't want that. Pay no attention to that. I'll try to block it here. I don't know why those things get in there. I mean, I do know why they're in there. We're on the internet. That's what happens. But anyway, pay no attention to that lottery thing down there from Hongan Topus. We'll get him blocked here in just a second. Let's see here. There we go. All right. He's blocked. You all do that on your pages? I don't know that probably personal pages don't get, bombed by these hackers like we do here at the station. We get a lot of them. All right, well, Amy Elsner thought that was interesting. Amy's a good sport. She'll go along for any of these windy explanations that I do. Well, thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. But yeah, you would think by now we would have hit 100. And we may do it next week. We've got some 97s and 98s in the model. So, it's not out of the question, but kind of hard to get up there to those numbers. Paula Schaefer believes 2012 had several 100-degree days. It did indeed. I think probably you posted that before you saw the 14 days there. Let's see. I think we got oh, wait, Adam Luigs is going to Robinson, Illinois tomorrow. How's it looking weather other than being hotter? Well, it's going to be hot in Robinson too. And no chance of rain up there, at least not anything significant. We had a little bit of rain in southern Illinois. I don't know if we have any viewers, listeners over in Harrisburg or McLeansboro, but just out of the 14 News viewing area, we had a nice little cluster of showers and storms, but they didn't last. We didn't think they would. I was surprised they lasted as long as they did. So anyway, That's all I have for you tonight. I appreciate you watching. We will see you on 14 News at 10, and then I'll be back here again tomorrow night with the First Alert weather show at 9 o'clock. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good, safe night.